Hey, welcome back. So, saw those fights last night. The main card was Fluffy Hernandez versus Roman Dolidze. The rest of the card was, subpar in quality of names, but it actually turned up to be a little bit of a sleeper card. We had that insane slam KO knockout. I forget the guy's name, but I think he's the guy who used to be like an steel worker. And he hit an insane slam KO. The guy had to go to the hospital, not because he couldn't wake up or anything, but just because the slam was so bad with some follow up shots that he probably had to get his head checked just to be safe. I definitely think that was on the ref. If you watch that back, like those two extra shots could have been avoided so easily. Or, well, not so easily. It's always hard in those moments, to immediately jump on it. But, like, that's your job as the ref. Their life is in your hands. So, that definitely could have been avoided to an extent. Aside from that, the card itself was pretty good. There were a couple slugfests in there, and the main event actually delivered through and through. Fluffy Hernandez put on an absolute domination of a performance, especially against someone who, like, Roman Dolidze isn't anything crazy. I think he has a little bit of hype just because he's Georgian and he has Marab on his team, and I feel like that's kind of the same effect as like the Nurmagomedovs and like the Dagestanis in general. Like you see them and then you assume that they're all insane, and so you kind of get your resume padded whenever you see a win against one of them. But still, the level of domination cannot be overlooked from Fluffy Hernandez. He essentially took the fight to the ground and then stood him back up over and over again. Dolidze could not withstand that cardio. And eventually, by round three, I would like to say, he just kind of started accepting the takedowns, like no resistance whatsoever. He would just fall to the ground so that he could rest a little longer, which is absolutely ridiculous to see. I mean, I guess, when you're in that fight and you're totally gassed out, there really is nothing you can do something like at that point. But there was at no point in which he kind of got a second wind after that. It was just full domination from Fluffy, and he eventually got the rear naked choke submission in a very aggressive fashion too. He basically got like a I don't even know. It was just like a short choke, and it was like a standing short choke where he was dragging him and pulling the choke, and Dolidze tapped like instantly. It was very awesome to watch. Quick coffee sip. And yeah, so very much a sleeper card, I would say. I did not have high expectations from it, but decided to watch it and had a good time. So overall, I mean, life's been a little tough right now, that's for sure. And I'm just kind of trying to pull back on the things that I'm passionate about. And UFC is one of them. So if it means watching some of those subpar cards instead of just doing nothing on a Saturday night, then yeah, I'd probably do that. And especially now that I've been training again, a lot of kickboxing and jujitsu, it's been really fun to watch the actual performances from real professional fighters, more so to analyze exactly what they're doing. And I was always kind of analytical when I watched like fights, but it's been more so now because I kind of have had that reigniting of love of the actual sport itself more than just watching it, for the sake of the UFC and UFC drama. But yeah, so next week should be an absolute banger. We have Hamzat versus DDP, another one which if you'd asked me a little while ago, I would have said, well, no, duh. Obviously, Hamzat's gonna win that. Like I've been very high on him since he came into the sport. And well, not the sport, but the UFC. And I always thought he was gonna be a champ. I'm sure a lot of people think that. What he did to Whitaker is inexcusable. I do not want to think about it, but at the end of the day, he is champ material. Now the only thing is DDP finds a way to win in absolutely comical ways, and everyone knows that. Like everyone makes the jokes, DDP winning by comically large hammer or Looney Tunes style anvil falling out of the sky, right? And ultimately, people do like to clown on him, and I think even Hamzat said it himself, and he said it best that what DDP does is MMA. Even though it might not be the type of refined MMA that we see from like Ilya, it's still MMA, and he's really good at combining his pressure, his heavy strikes, and his intense ground game. He's very smothering. He's objectively a brute. He's very strong. And it very much gets him through a lot of the fight. I think, and what people are saying is we haven't seen him necessarily absolutely taken off his feet and just dominated on the ground, and that is absolutely something that Khamzat can do and likely will do. It just comes down to if DDP can withstand that, if he is winning in the striking department, which honestly I'm not sure. I don't. DDP striking is not all that clean, but it's just volume and pressure, and when he finds those openings, those perhaps very awkward openings, he's really good at taking them. So it's just going to be a very interesting match, I think. Like, I don't think anyone would have ever expected to see this as a title fight, like even a few months ago, like before, a few months before this was announced, like just watching the way middleweight has gone up till now, no one would have expected this to be the championship fight, So it's a very interesting one, and even though DDP is not technically the most technical looking fighter, this very much is one of those instances of an unstoppable force versus an immovable object, or it might be an unstoppable force versus another unstoppable force, and they both just clonk heads and both double KO. First time UFC history title fight. I think that's my prediction for it. I'm not a betting man, but if I was, I would bet on a double KO, head clonk double KO. That's probably where it's going. Anyway, yeah, so that's upcoming UFC and just kind of the state of UFC right now. I think a lot of people are saying online that Hernandez should fight Renier de Ridder next, which I think is a good fight, and then winner of that gets the title fight. And that seems like a good route for me. Hernandez really did shine in this fight. Now I saw one of his earliest fights. I think it might have been, I don't know if it was his debut or the other guy's debut, but he fought Rodolfo Vieira, who was this like BJJ black belt who looked like he was juiced to the gills, and he submitted him using his cardio. Like, he got Vieira so tired and gassed that he submitted this like supposed prolific BJJ artist. So really, people are saying Hernandez is like the what is he, middleweight? Yeah, middleweight Marab. And so I think that's a pretty interesting way of putting it. It seems pretty accurate, because I didn't really realize how insane his cardio was, but that really is the like the backbone of his strategy. It's just pressure and cardio, which those kind of fighters do really well. So I'd love to see it, and I think it's a good setup overall for the middleweight division, which I feel like has been a little, just in general, interesting lately, so to speak. There's been, the easing out of some of the unfortunately older fighters, which might include, Robert Whittaker and the Israel Adesanya's. That's unfortunately becoming the old generation. There's a new generation on the rise, and I think we're starting to witness them coming into their full force, so to speak. So middleweight's looking good, and I think next week should be a fantastic fight. So good week of cards, and next month is going to be phenomenal. I don't remember all the fights that I saw for next month, but I do remember seeing a post and looking at it and going, holy crap, these are all fantastic. I cannot wait. So really excited about the state of things. In terms of music, since I'm just kind of following the format of last video, UFC music and whatever else I feel like talking about, a couple albums that have released that I've been listening to. The Freddie Gibbs album, what's it called? Alfredo 2. Alfredo 2. I absolutely loved it. I said I was waiting for it on the last video, and I did listen to it on a plane. And oh my god, was it just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, people are very much hyping it up, and I think it's very well deserved. It was a fantastic album. I had a great time listening to it. A very just smooth, relaxing vibe throughout the entire thing, where Freddie Gibbs does his job floating over the beats. The Alchemist does his job creating these just beautiful, like, I don't know, smooth, relaxing, bouncy beats. And they have this kind of like nostalgic liminal vibe, and it's just a fantastic sound that not a lot of artists are able to emulate as much. I mean, they can with the help of the Alchemist, because that is kind of his sound, but not many people do it as good as Freddie Gibbs and the Alchemist. And so it was a fantastic album to listen to. And another one that just dropped was the JID album. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It's like ugly something. The gods are ugly or something like that. I don't remember, but JID album just dropped, and from what I listened to, I didn't finish it. I listened to about the first half of the album. It was really good. I really enjoyed a lot of what I heard, so I got to go back to it, finish it up. But those are two really good albums that have recently dropped, and I would definitely say go ahead and check them out. And aside from that, I mean, yeah, that's all I really got for now. We're going to continue to work on some Linux practice for today, and yeah, if I can think of anything crazy, I guess I'll talk about it in a sec. But yeah, so let's hop over to the computer. Alright, so we are back on Over the Wire, and I also got some music in the background this time around, so hopefully you guys enjoy that. Quick shout out to the channel it's from. This channel is called Baby Murcielaga. I really, really like this channel. They have a lot of good mixes of just this kind of really vibey music. So if you need something to work to, I highly recommend this channel. Hopefully this isn't necessarily copyright or anything, but I'm just going to throw it on in the background and, you know, crediting it. So anyway, so we are on level 6. Now I know the previous episode ended on level 4, or at the start of level 4, but I unfortunately lost the recording to 4 and 5 because I was kind of messing around with editing the first video, and that footage was a part of that, and it accidentally got deleted. But oh well, we have the code for it, so let's just go ahead and hop on over to level 6. So we're going to go ahead and SSH into level 6, so I have that command pre-saved, and so we're going to SSH into port 2220, bandit 6 at bandit.labsoverthewire.org, and let's go ahead and pop open our codes and copy level 5. Paste it here, enter, and I believe that should work. There we go. Okay. Let's clear our screen. Take a little sip of coffee. Alright, and let's go ahead and see what this level has for us. So, it says the password for this next level is stored somewhere on the server, and it has all of the following properties. It's owned by the user Bandit7, owned by the group Bandit6, and it's 33 bytes in size. Now, the commands down here are the ones we still need for this one, so let's go ahead and see if we can figure this one out. I do remember I was trying this one earlier and had a good bit of trouble with this one. I don't know. Okay, our listing is giving us nothing. That's interesting. Okay, there we go. So it looks like Bandit 6 doesn't actually have anything in that directory. And is there anything further back? Yeah. Okay, so this is just like kind of the system root directory, I believe. I don't think you can go further from this. Yeah. So in Linux file system, this slash directory, I believe, is kind of just like the system's root directory, where system files can be found, such as bin and boot and dev and etc and things like that. And then from there, the home directory is the actual home directory, I think, of all the users. And then within that, there's the tilde, which is the user's root directory. I believe that is a correct summary of how Linux file system works. So right now we are in the system root directory, and we need to we can navigate back to the home directory. So cd home, and then this puts us back here. Now it says that the password for this level is stored somewhere on the server. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean it's within Bandit 6. And in fact, when we went over to Bandit 6, it looks like there's nothing in here. Even if we do a long listing, we see just the standard directory files. I don't think anything special is here, so it doesn't look like we have anything too helpful. So let's go ahead and back out of these. And I think what I want to try and do is, I'm not exactly, so essentially what I want to do is I want to try and use, I believe, the file command and also grep. Either file, find, and grep. So I'm gonna launch those. I'm gonna see what these pages tell me about them. Okay, so these are just the man pages, and obviously I can launch that up in here as well for the commands, but just so I can read them on the side while I mess with it, it'll be a little easier. So let's go ahead and test out the file command just to see what it does. So if we go ahead and read through this, it says it determines a file type. Now, file type could be helpful, but more than that, I think I want to try and, using what we see here, I might try and do a grep to find a size of 33, and maybe that would be a better way to do this. I'm not quite sure. Let's see. Let's read through each of these commands and see which one could be more helpful. And again, I'm familiar with these commands, but you know, reading through these man pages would give me a better idea of what would be probably the best approach for this right now. So grep searches for patterns in each file, and then the find searches for files in a directory hierarchy. Okay, so let's see if this command has certain options for like searching based on the size or something like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and search through this. It doesn't look like I can do that. Yeah, it unfortunately doesn't look like I can search using the find command based on the file size necessarily. So okay. If I do, I guess, an ls minus la, this feels like it might be a little tough. Okay, so certain parts of this I might speed up just while I try and navigate a solution. So I might speed it up right here while I just kind of sit quietly and think and look around and see if I can figure out a effective strategy. And then when we come back to regular speed, I'll try and explain what I've figured out. All right. Okay, so I figured out the command to actually identify that this file exists. So what I did was I did ls minus la, so listing, long listing, and all like hidden files, and then I did it recursively over the entire root directory, and then piped this to a grep of 33, piped that to a grep of bandit 6, and then piped that to a grep of bandit 7. So essentially saying
over the entire file system, do a long listing including all files recursively, and then pipe that output, so redirect that output to like a filter, like a pattern search of finding the 33, which is the file size, and then pattern search for bandit 6, and then pattern search for bandit 7, which were the group and user ownership. Now, I have found said file, and I don't actually know how to identify what directory it's in. So let me figure that out, and then I'll get back. Okay, so we are back, and I found the directory that this folder is sitting in. Now, I have to admit this was a bit of a brute force approach, so to speak. So what I essentially did was, looking over that entire recursive file system search, what I noticed was that there was a bunch of alerts saying, you know, permission denied to access this directory, permission denied to access this directory. And this was obviously done in an ordered format, going directory by directory. So I kind of identified which directory was closest to this grep search find. And so I realized, okay, it was like var/lib/this can't be entered. Then the file was found, and then after that it was the rest of those var/lib directories. So that gave me the clue that the file was likely within this directory. Not only likely, but was within this directory. So then from here, I just kind of did the same thing, where I knew I was somewhere in var/lib, so I just kind of did a recursive search of everything past crony and before the fwupd. So these 5 directories I just kind of searched through, and eventually it happened to be in dpkg. So we're in var/lib/dpkg, and I did the same grep search and was able to find it. So now I need to find out which of these it is within. We already know that these seem to be the directories. So let's go ahead and let's cd into alternates, and we'll just list. And let's actually just do the grep, so that makes it easier. Okay, it's not in here. Info. And in fact, well, yeah, let's just do it this way. And there we go. It's definitely within info. Let's do an ls-la. And I'm trying to see if there's any other directories in here, or if we're... See, now, as you can see, this is clearly not the most efficient strategy to go about something like this, but let's go ahead and see if we're able to read this. There we go. Okay, so look, I mean, ultimately, I never said I was an absolute Linux master, but it's kind of fun to still try and, even if it is a little brute force, try and figure these out on your own. And so I looked up a couple things, obviously, but my end goal was to not search up anything that felt too close to the exact solution. And ultimately, I mean, I'm not really against searching up how to do something specific if it really comes to your aid. At the end of the day, I'm just trying to learn. And so, yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool. And let's go ahead and save this password. Okay, so now we should be able to exit, clear, hop on over to level 7, and grab this password, chuck it on in here, and bada bing bada boom, we are now in level 7. Awesome. So That wasn't too bad. I mean, it took a lot of searching up on my end, but it gave me some good practice figuring out the differences between the file and find command, as well as how I can pipe, ls outputs to grep, and the usage of the recursive option. So I definitely still need practice with this kind of stuff, but it's definitely a cool little room to have kind of figure that out on my own. So the next one says the password for the next level is stored in the file data.txt next to the word millionth. Okay, so we are definitely going to be using the grep command here, and hopefully it should be even simpler than the last time. Okay, so we know data.txt is right here. Let's just go ahead and do a cat of data.txt and grep the word millionth. And there you go. Simple as that. It pops right up. Okay, so this kind of indicates to me that the previous level must have been way easier than I made it out to be, if this is how this one is. So I think there clearly is a much more efficient way to do that level, and in fact I'll probably go back and see someone else's solution on that to see how I could have done it differently. But that wasn't too bad at all. Grep is a very useful command, and learning how to use those pattern matching, I keep forgetting what it's called. Regex patterns. Learning how to use those patterns is a very useful tool as a Linux user. So let's go ahead and pop on over to level 8. Throw this password in, and bam, we're in here. Level 8. Okay, so it says the password for this next level is stored within data.txt, and we can assume that that's within here. Yes, it is. And is the only line of text that occurs only once. Interesting. Okay. Let's see what the unique command does. Linux unique. Okay, this looks like it might be very useful. Okay, so what does it say? The unique command is a Linux command. In Linux is a command line utility that reports or filters out repeated lines in a file. In simple words, unique is the tool that helps to detect the adjacent duplicate lines and also deletes the duplicate lines. Unique filters out the adjacent matching lines from the input file that is required as an argument and writes the filtered data to the output file. Alright, so given just that, I mean, let's see if we can go ahead and... Perhaps I should run unique data.txt, pipe that to a, well, maybe I'll pipe it to an output. Oh wow, I'm stuttering. Pipe it to an output file first. Let's see how this works. Oh, actually, it does. It automatically outputs those values. Okay, so cool. So would that just work? Ooh, interesting. Okay. So oh, okay, I understand. So it's not delete, it's just deleting all the duplicates. But what I instead want is to get the only line that is repeated in the output. That's not repeated in the output. So we pretty much want the opposite of the. Oh, we want the unique. Yeah, we want the only output lines that are unique in the input. So should that do what I need? I think so, right? Let's see. Let's read this back. The password for the next level is stored in the file data.txt and is the only line of text that occurs only once. Now, is there maybe a... yes. Okay, so I can do the number of times that line occurs. Okay, perfect. So then I can just say -C1. Huh. Let's see. Oh, you can't necessarily like specify the count. So let's just see if we can spot it out using this. Okay. What the hell? This doesn't seem right. All right. Is it this one? But this has a frequency of 2. So that's what I'm a little confused about. Isn't the room saying the password for the next level is stored in the file data.txt and is the only line of text that occurs only once? So wouldn't that imply that the line I'm looking for should only be there one time, right? Or am I misunderstanding this? Because in fact, the fact that this one says 2, and that one is the only one that says 2. Oh wait, I did see another one. It's kind of confusing, actually. I'm not gonna lie. I don't quite know what I'm gonna be looking for then. Because I see a couple 2s in here. Like, I see another one right here. So... Alright, I guess let me think, and then I'll finish up this one. Okay, so we are back, and so it turns out that, yeah, I did a little digging, and it definitely was being apparent to me that the unique command wasn't working as it was supposed to, or at least like that online suggested it did. And what it turns out is that if the lines are not directly adjacent to one another, then the unique command won't work as expected. So it's much more preferable to sort the file or to do whatever command you need and then pipe it to a sort, and then run the unique command on it with whatever options you need to. So interesting. Yeah, this is a good thing to know, because the unique command is definitely very helpful. It's just that it didn't work by itself. So you do need to use this sort command first so that it actually works properly, and then from there I was able to do not only a unique -u to very easily find that password, which means this is the only unique line in the file. You can also do -d to see all the duplicates, which would be everything else. And then lastly, you can do -c, and obviously you can chain all these options, but -c would show you the frequency of all these lines, which you can see all of these are a frequency of 10. And then you have this one single line that is a unique line, implying it is the password for the next room. Alright. Beautiful. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next video.